My name's Gareth Jones and I'm the chair of the Dorchester Joint Heritage Committee, and I'm here to interview a couple of our esteemed councillors to find out a bit about the civic history of Dorchester. So, hats off. First of all, I'd like to introduce Richard Biggs, who's the current mayor. Richard, welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here and happy to talk about the civic history and the role of mayor.
Excellent. So, about the role of mayor. When did it first start in Dorchester?
Well, we've gone back a very long time, so 1629. I think it was John Parkin became the first mayor, and it's happened every year since then. Some mayors have done more than 1 year, but it's carried on the tradition. But it was a completely different role in those days.
Oh yes, what did it involve back then?
Well, I understand that they were bailiffs and had considerable power in those days. I'm sure Stella can tell us a bit more about that. But it wasn't until very recent times, a lot later on, that it was actually selected by the council themselves. Oh, right. Even after the Corporation Act, where councils became similar to what we know now, they were selected, and you could be just a person in the town. And of course, it was always men.
But of course, early on, the elections were not about everybody didn't have a vote.
Yes.
It was certain men, and then it was all men, and then eventually some women, and last, everybody had a vote.
Right. And I imagine it was a while before there was a lady mayor, was it?
The first lady mayor was in 1936, Miss Marsden. She became the first lady mayor, and I think she was quite a strong character.
Excellent.
Yeah. And after that, we had to wait a long time for another lady mayor. But
1950s.
we've had a lot in recent times,
yes.
Although women are still a minority on the council. We do need more women on the council.
We do indeed. So, Richard, you're sat there in your mayoral regalia. In fact, I'll refer to both of you, and then I'll come back to Richard. So, Richard, you're sat in a red fur-lined robe, and Stella, you're sat in a purple robe. So, what's the significance? We'll start with the purple robe. What's the significance of that?
Well, I think we start with the black robe. The black robe is what all councillors, when they become councillor, wear the black robe. The senior councillors wear purple robes, and the purple robe used to belong to the aldermen. The aldermen ceased to exist in 1972. So we pass these on to the people who've been on the council a long time. When you've been mayor, which I've been mayor 3 times, you get a medal to say you've been mayor.
Excellent.
But I've also been mayoress, and this is very confusing. A lot of people think a lady is the lady mayoress, but the mayoress is actually the wife of a mayor. So I've been the mayoress when my husband was mayor, and the mayor, the lady mayor.
Excellent. Richard, we turn to your lovely regalia. So, is there any significance to the colour and the fur lining?
Well, it is traditional for mayors to wear red robes. I don't know where that comes from, but it's not something that's worn very regularly. So it'd be worn at the mayor-making ceremony, which is done very traditionally in Dorchester, and the reflaying for Thomas Hardy that we do every year. And we have a little special hat as well. So it's a lovely guy. It's very hot to wear, so it's not something you want to wear very often. But if you look back in history, I think they probably wore it more often, and certainly wore it at full council meetings.
Yeah, well, indeed.
So we're a bit more relaxed now, I'm glad to say.
And you've got a rather magnificent chain. Is that a very ancient chain?
So it's not hugely old, but it's 1874, which is the same time as Far from the Madding Crowd. But it is, having seen the other mayors in Dorchester, I think it's one of the best ones, actually.
It is,
nicest ones. It's got 2 significant dates on there. 1305,
yes,
which was when the town became a county town by nature of having a jail. The jail was on the site of the former prison. The other date is 1835, which was the Municipal Corporations Act, when the councils first became similar to what we would know now.
Do we know what the significance of the castle on the front is? Is that just a symbolic
thing? So
thing?
it is a heraldic symbol. So the castle signifies the town walls, so the tri-castle. A purple background represents it was a royal borough. And you've got the fleur-de-lis, which represents the right to bear arms from the French, 1400 and something. And the rest is the royal connection again.
That's fantastic. I mean, that really is a far more important repository of history than people might think. It's not just a shiny row of links at all, isn't it?
Indeed, and they used to put the signature of the name of the previous mayor. I think they stopped after run out of rooms.
Right.
You've had a chain down to the ground
Yes.
with all the mayors on it.
Talking of previous mayors, I don't know whether we'll show the plaques that are on the wall. Perhaps, Stella, you'd like to just talk about the mayors of the borough.
Yeah, John Parkins was the first mayor in 1679, yeah. And some very interesting ones. I think one is interesting one is William Jolliffe in 1671, who had an argument with Fordington. Fordington was outside the borough of Dorchester, and the fought over boundaries, and he wrote a letter to the Prince of Wales then, and it became quite a serious conflict between Fordington and Dorchester.
Yeah.
Fordington eventually became part of Dorchester in 1835.
Right.
But Fordington surrounded the whole of Dorchester.
Dorchester was deeply embedded in the agricultural life of the county, which is why we're now sat in the council chamber, next to which is another large hall called the Town Hall, and built into the whole edifice is the Corn Exchange, which presumably was used as a corn exchange in the 1840s.
Well, if you read Thomas Hardy, he actually talks about the farmers in the Corn Exchange.
If you look at the side of the building, you'll see that the back end of it has carved in the stonework police station.
Yes.
So obviously the police were part of the civic function back then. I don't know how long that went on for, but it would be an interesting, Richard, if you had powers over the police in Dorchester today.
I'd have to think I'd want them, really.
Because in 1973, local government reorganisation, Dorchester stopped being a borough council and was a town council, and lost certain powers to West Dorset District Council.
Yes, it's
The
indeed.
planning powers, refuse, car parks.
Yes, all those things.
The
Which-
county town allowed by a charter from the King the right to hold a market.
Right.
Of course, Dorset remains a market town to
Right.
this day, which is something that we're very proud of.
There are a couple of bits of ceremonial equipment, ceremonial heritage,
Regalia.
which we have, which I'd like you to perhaps talk to us about, Stella, if you'd like to come and point to some of these items.
Well, we have the beadle pole, and it's supposed to date back to 13 something, but whether that is true or not, I don't know. But the beadle stands at the back of the council on a parade. It's supposed to guard off people. And the two maces are very ornate and date from
1700 and something,
Yeah,
2700.
Right.
but maces, of course, were at one time just clubs, and they were made of wood, and eventually they became ornate, and then came so ornate that they wouldn't actually damage anybody because they damaged the clubs instead, the maces instead.
Excellent. Richard, behind you, I think there's some gifts. Is that right?
Well, we've had a long association by been twinning with three towns in Europe, Rebecca, Bayer and Holbeck.
Yes.
And they are sort of gifts from various trips that we've done to mark certain particular events. Recently went over to Bayer for the 60th anniversary, which we were there, of course.
Yes.
So that's the oldest connection. But they are sort of very prized things that we keep on display, obviously.
I think the most interesting one is the one at the top, which is the planet Dorchester. When we twinned with Holbeck, which is near Copenhagen, Copenhagen Observatory found a new planet and decided to call it Planet Dorchester. And that is obviously not any part of the planet, but it is just represents what the Dorchester planet looks like.
There are some other interesting bits of heritage around the room. The first is one of the two tables in front of which the mayor sits. Stella, do you want to say anything about this? The reputed history of this table.
The reputed history of the table where the town clerk sits is supposed to be Judge Jeffrey's table when he had his trials in Dorchester. Whether that is just some theory or whether it actually been proved, I don't know. It's local legend has it that was Judge Jeffrey's table.
Splendid. We'll get it ring tested and carbon
It is,
tested.
it is certainly old.
Yes, indeed so. And then there's a strange device in the corner, which I have never seen actually in operation. Have you? Have you used it as mayor?
No, it's for the town seal, isn't it? Which would have key documents, I guess, that the town council would have decreed. So it would have had great significance to have the seal on to show that it was from the
Official
town
document.
council.
And presumably the seal replicates the badge that hangs off your chain.
Indeed, yes. There are two seals. One is the town seal, and the mayor has his his or her own seal, which is slightly unusual to decree, I suppose, if they were writing a personal letter, that it was from themselves and not from the town.
Ah, right. Well, I think this has been an excellent tour of Dorchester's civic heritage. So thank you very much, Councillor Stella Jones, and thank you very much, Mayor Richard Biggs.
Thank you, it's a
and
pleasure.
yeah, thank you for your time.